The loss of a child is any parent's worst nightmare. Some children are taken suddenly through tragic accident. Others are lost to debilitating disease or illness and require weeks, maybe months of palliative care. It's that second group we're going to talk about tonight. Emily's House is a home in Toronto where, quite bluntly, kids spend the last days of their lives. This is a rarely discussed but hugely important part of our healthcare system, and it brings four guests to our studio for a difficult conversation. Ronnie Salmonen is the founder and CEO of Emily's House. Nicole Albay has been a personal services worker at Emily's House since its inception 6 years ago. And Bruno and Marlene Jeremiah are the parents of Matthew, whose last days were spent at Emily's House. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that all of you accepted our invitation to come here tonight and have this conversation. Ronnie, get us started. The mission of Emily's House is what?
Well, as you said, Emily's House is a children's hospice, and we are a colorful, comfortable, home-like environment. We provide care, around-the-clock nursing for children who are terminally ill. We also offer play therapy, music therapy, art therapy, all kinds of programming just to add as much life into the children's days as we can. So we often say in our hospice, we can't add days to a child's life, but we can add life to a child's days. And that's what Emily's House really, truly is about. It's a very compassionate, caring place where the entire family is supported through the most difficult time in their life.
What kind of health conditions are the children that you deal with coming to you with?
Everything from neurodegenerative, genetic, heart conditions, cognitive disabilities, very complex conditions. Often the children are trached, or they would be tube fed.
Like trach meaning tracheotomy put in?
Yes, yeah. And or fed through the tube, a G-tube, because they are very complex and very fragile children that do require the nursing support.
And how long do they typically stay with you?
It can come in for a day or two in the case of perinatal care, up to, we've had children stay with us 6 or 7 months.
And are all the patients from the Greater Toronto area that you serve?
Outside of Toronto as well. Like we've had children from Sudbury, we've had them from North Bay, because we are province-wide.
Province-wide, okay. Yeah. So are there other places like Emily's House around this province?
Yes, there's Roger Nelson House in Ottawa. It's very similar to us. Our model is very much the same.
This is Roger Nielsen House?
Yes.
Like the former coach of the Maple Leafs and the Senators?
Yes,
named
correct.
After him, okay.
Yeah.
And is that the only other one that you know of?
There is Darling Home in Milton. They have 2 palliative care beds, and they also provide long-term care and respite for children there.
Okay.
So in total, you're looking at 22 beds in the province of Ontario for pediatric palliative care.
22 beds in the whole province?
Yes.
Like this?
Yes.
Huh. Why is it called Emily's House?
Emily was an incredible young lady who just actually died several weeks ago. We wanted to name the house after somebody that was still alive. And Emily, we supported through a community program for several years. And she just was so full of life, even though she couldn't communicate with words, but she communicated more with her eyes and her creativity than people that use words. And she, like I said, she was full of life. She still had joy, even though she wasn't able to do things for herself. She required 24/7 support from her mother and other caregivers. And that's the kind of spirit we wanted to emanate at Emily's House, life and joy and faith. And she just took everything out of life she possibly could with all the limitations that she had to live with.
And just to confirm, nobody, like everybody who you treat dies. Nobody goes home from your place, right?
Some can go home from our place if they've come in and are stabilized and families feel comfortable enough to take them back home for a period of time.
I see.
But then the door stays open. So if they're comfortable and the child is stable and they go back home, they can certainly come back to Emily's House anytime.
Gotcha. Okay, Nikki, you ready to go here? Okay, what do you do at Emily's House?
I'm a PSW at Emily's House.
Personal services worker?
Yes, and I've been there for 6 years and still going strong. So I provide care for these children that come in and support the families. I think the number one thing for us as providers is giving their home back and giving their parenting back. I think they lose that in the whole process of caring constantly, and so you want them to be a family, and so that's something we can give back as Emily's House, supporting them and keeping them comfortable and making them eat when they can't eat and cooking for them and providing the care for their child in the best way we can.
Is this hard work?
Yes.
What's hard about it?
I think the hardest thing is smiling, even though you know that you might not see these children every day. When you go home, I think the hardest thing is, did I do my care as best as I could and can? Because these kids will come out and hopefully see us from a different angle in heaven or wherever they are, and hopefully through the parents' eyes that we've done the best we can for them. And we learn from the family as well to give that care. And I think that's the hardest thing, is to emulate what they do for their child. Nothing is so great than the child's life. And so like Brownie said, we give life to those last few days and those memories to last them a lifetime.
You know, when people go to work, they want to enjoy their jobs. And I have to ask, what can you possibly enjoy about your job?
Well, it's, we're all amazing people. I think all the people we work with are just free-spirited, and we are a family. And so I think that's what makes us want to be there. We become a family, we work with the family, and these children are almost like ours. And sometimes we're clowns, and these kids want us to be clowns and be silly and have a dance party. And I think becoming a happy time for them, and we know what the hospice is, they're there for a reason. So we have to make every day count.
So you do see joy in Emily's house?
You see joy in everything that Emily's house does, that the staff, the volunteers, and the families bring. Especially the families and the volunteers, they're an extension of the care. They're the whole reason why we keep going.
I do have to ask this as well, though. You know, if you were a PSW or a nurse in a hospital, you know, chances are most of the people that you treat would go home. You know, they'd get better and they'd go home.
Yeah.
None of your patients ever goes home permanently, right? They might go home temporarily, but essentially they're all going to die. How do you personally deal with that reality?
I think for me, it's changed me in a way where to look at life differently. Honestly, I struggle, but because of the struggle, it's no longer a job. It's a vocation for me. And so definitely I would not leave Emily's house, even if I wanted to, because we need people like myself and Rowney and the families to just keep going for these kids. And if we don't have this place, I think that's the reason why I'm still there. It's the first job I've ever stayed at, and I will stay here forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're not consumed by grief?
You know what? How we cope with it, I think we cope with it as a team. We chat with each other. I don't think I'm consumed with grief, because I think there is crazy things in the world. This isn't the craziest thing, but it is the saddest, unbelievably thing that can happen to a family and a child. So to put joy to it, I think grief, I don't like to say grief when you're working for palliative, because you have to honor their life. And that's what we do, and that's what Rowney taught us, and the staff has always emulated throughout the 6 years, is we have to celebrate these children.
This is some employee, you can never let her go, right? You can never let her go.
She won't let me go.
Okay, Bruno and Marlene, you ready to go here?
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about Matthew. When was Matthew born?
He was born on October 31st, 1996.
Halloween in 1996.
Yes, too early.
Too early, right, after what,
27 weeks.
27 weeks, so he was too early.
Yes.
And what was he suffering from when he was born?
Well, he, at 9 days old, he had a spontaneous perforation in his intestines, so he had to get a ileostomy. And then at 12,
What's that?
a pouch. He couldn't, well.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
And then when he was 12 days old, he had a PDA ligation for his heart murmur, because he didn't when a baby cries, the flap closes, and his didn't. So they had to operate. So he had 2 surgeries in the first 2 weeks of his life, and they feel that he possibly could have had lack of oxygen. So because of that, he developed these cysts in his brain called periventricular leukomalacia. That's
How long did it take you to practice that to be
a
able
while.
to? Yeah.
And then CP, cerebral palsy, is an end result of that. So he had severe cerebral palsy. And so he was very challenged.
Very challenged. Bruno, obviously his health conditions had to have taken over your whole family's lives, I guess, right?
They did. All I remember is waking up in the morning, having to go to work. After work, head straight to the hospital, actually stop by my mother's to pick up, have a shower, pick up some food, and head down to the hospital. And it was day in, day out, going to the hospital, down to sick kids. Even after that, it became, life was more planning around Matthew's needs. Matthew, how could we get him there? How could we get him someplace? We will need to feed him. We will need to provide his day-to-day care. So it's not like we could just pick up and go on vacation. So, and it's a 24-hour-a-day job that we've don't know how we get through it, but we did. You just do it without thinking. And I look back now and I think, wow, those were long days. But at the time, we just did it. We just went through it.
And you have other kids as well?
Yes, we have 2 17-year-old boys, twins.
And they are older or younger?
Younger than Matthew.
They're younger than Matthew.
Yeah.
Were they able to be helpful with Matthew?
They were, in their own way. Mm-hmm. Matthew used to cry out at times, and we couldn't figure out, it was always a matter of trying to figure out, okay, what is it this time? Is it something, is it positional? Do we need to reposition him in his chair? Do we need to, and it would just keep going on and on until we found what it was. And I remember one particular day that we couldn't figure out what it was, and he just kept crying and crying, and one of the boys said, "Matthew, stop wasting your tears. You're going to run out of tears."
That's cute.
Yeah.
Did he ever get better? Or did the health just sort of deteriorate bit by bit over the years?
He actually lived a lot longer than people expected. So he was a very loved boy. So I think that really helped a lot. And he was stable for quite a few years, but then as he got older, he had severe scoliosis, and I think that was really impacting on his health. And then in 2013, everything just turned upside down, and then he had to get a trach, and he was in the hospital 99% of the last year and a half of his life.
Was he able to speak ever?
No.
Never spoke.
He was nonverbal. He couldn't walk or talk. He was visually impaired. He had a lot of challenges. But he was a happy boy. He was always laughing and giggling.
Okay, I wondered how he communicated that happiness to you.
Well, you knew if he wasn't happy with something, because he'd let you know. But he would just light up a room. He had the biggest smile. He was just such a happy boy.
Now, Bruno, when he got to the point where, things were really grim, how did the notion of going to a place like Emily's house present itself to your family?
It was frightening. You always want to hope. You want to hold on to that hope that things will get better, and even the tiniest little bit of hope. And while he's in hospital, you realize, there could be that little bit. You think there could be that little bit of hope that because the hospital is a place where you get better, or you can get better. At Emily's house is not, and when we think of hospice, that's what we think of. You're going there to die. We had brought Matthew home after a long process of trying to organize funding and staff, so we could do Matthew's end of life care at home, which was horrible for us. Our house was it was like a revolving door at the front door. People coming onto their shifts, leaving.
Healthcare workers.
Healthcare workers. There was this equipment in his room, oxygen monitors going off, beeping. We had a mini ICU going on in our house, and the house wasn't a home anymore. It was a hospital, and I think we just reached the point after a couple of weeks that we said we can't do this. We can't go on anymore. So let's take a look at Emily's house.
Had you heard of it before this?
We had, and when the opportunity presented itself to visit, we did, and just felt right away that it was just a very calming, relaxing place. It felt like a home. We'd always thought of hospice as sort of a hospital type of atmosphere, but not at Emily's house. It was just. I always said that when I walked through the doors, I didn't even have to see Matthew yet. As soon as I walked through the doorway, everything just, the weight of the whole week, the weight of the world just got off my shoulders, and I could relax and just feel at ease and at peace.
Marlene, what was your view of, I mean, when it was suggested to you that maybe Matthew's best prospects were at Emily's house, on the one hand, you knew he'd be well cared for, but on the other hand, that's it.
It was, well, it never will ever feel like a hospital. So I'm so grateful. I don't know what we would have done without Emily's house, because there's no way we could have handled it. And they made it. They made his last months so memorable. We've got so many great memories. We had celebrated his birthday, we celebrated Christmas, Easter, all kinds of special occasions. We wouldn't have been able to have done that anywhere else.
How long was he there for, ultimately?
7.5 months.
Nonstop?
Yes. Yeah. And the support there was just incredible. I just can't say enough about Emily's house. They will always have a special place in my heart.
Well, I never met Matthew, but I know one thing about him that absolutely makes him a winner with me. He's a big Sinatra fan, wasn't he? How did that happen? How did he become a Frank Sinatra fan?
It was, we noticed it, I think he must have been about 3 years old. And at that time, he was still being orally fed. And feedings for him would take at least 2 hours. And on a Sunday morning, I remember feeding him. And this radio station that we listened to always had Sunday mornings with Sinatra. And during that hour, he would just be calm and just relaxed, and you could feed him so easily then. And as soon as it was over, it was back to fussing and having a very difficult time being fed orally. And we thought, could it be? So we just kept playing his music, and yeah, it worked. It worked.
The chairman of the board comes to the rescue.
The old Blue Eyes himself.
You noticed a difference in him when the music was on?
Oh, he loved it.
He
Oh,
did.
yes, he really did. And it was amazing. So we always listened to Sinatra, Frank Sinatra.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, look, there's no way to ask this question other than to just ask it. Can you take us through Matthew's last moments on Earth? I presume they were at Emily's house?
Yes.
And what happened?
It was the most peaceful passing, that I can say. It was, when he was born, it was Bruno and I. And when it was his last time on Earth, alive, then the twins didn't want to be in the room with us, and that was fine. So it was the two of us and the nurse, and it was amazing. Because he couldn't talk, but he didn't have his eyes open. He opened his eyes wide and looked at us as if to say, "Thank you, I love you, goodbye." And it was just like, oh my gosh, I'll never forget it. And then there was a light rain, and Sinatra was playing.
Of course.
It was just, it just was so peaceful that it really helped me. And it really made a big difference. And it wouldn't have been like that anywhere else.
Did you know that was going to be those were going to be his last moments on Earth?
We could tell just from the way he was breathing. His breathing pattern had changed. He'd been weak for quite a while. We couldn't feed him anymore. He just couldn't tolerate feeds anymore. And he was G-tube fed at the time. So we had to stop that. And slowly it progressed. But from what we were told, it's not painful for him at all. As a matter of fact, it's easier for him. You would go through a lot of pain just having to deal with the process of feeding. But it was little by little, and that you could see over the days things would change. And he had his moment to say goodbye to everyone. Everyone had their special moment. He had a special person in his life who was the last person that needed to come and see him. And I remember Marlene and I sitting outside Matthew's room, and I said to Marlene, we just need Elizabeth to show up. She's the only one. And then not even half an hour later, she was there.
Who's she?
Elizabeth was an EA, education assistant, when Matthew was at school, at the Bloorview School.
Okay.
And that's where we met the first time. And she worked with him even after that, and became the love of his life. And yeah, it was a time that everything just seemed to fall in place. And very peaceful. He had his moments with everyone to say goodbye. And I remember the one night, a few nights before he died, I used to read him when he was a baby. I used to read him the story Goodnight Moon.
Oh, yeah.
And we used to do all the actions with his hands. And I used to
In the great
grab his hand.
green room, there's a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of
A cow
cow
jumping
jumping over the moon. How many times have we all read that? Yeah.
And I used to read that to him every single night. And I remembered seeing that book at Emily's house. And I thought, I was sitting there in the room with him, and I thought, I need to see this. I need to get the book. And we looked all over, and we could not find it anywhere. And I said to Nicole, she said, well, let me go look. And she scoured from top to bottom the whole building. And we thought, okay, well, we'll just pull it up on the internet and do it that way. And then she comes bursting through the room with this book in her hand. She said, I found it. It was one of the most special moments that someone did for us at Emily's house. But those were the kind of moments that you would get at Emily's house.
You remember that? You found the book.
I found the book.
You turned the place upside down to find the book.
You know what? There's over 100 books in that house.
Right.
I went from top to bottom for almost 2 hours. I said, I'm going to find it. I would come back, tell them, I'm going to find it. I have 2. There is 2 in this house. Heather has 2. And so I scoured the house and I pulled each book one by one. And there it was. Like I looked over and it was rainy. It was kind of rainy that week. Mm-hmm. And it just showed up. Here I am thinking, oh, there you are. I swear I was here. And it wasn't there. So I brought it to them and I said, I found that book.
That's great.
Oh, it was
That's
the greatest
great.
moment. Hugs, and reading that book for how long, I don't know, but that was my most, I couldn't have done anything better that day, was that book.
That was mission accomplished.
That was mission accomplished.
Right on. How old was Matthew when he died?
18 and a half.
18 and a half. How long do you think he'd live for, given all of his health travails?
Oh, that's a tough question. Nobody really knew how long he would live. And I didn't really want to think about it. So I just took day by day, as long as we had him with us. And I'm sorry, I really don't know how long.
There may very well be people watching us right now who find themselves in similar circumstances to you. And that is when Matthew was alive. And they may be kind of pondering whether this is an option for them. Would you give them some advice in that regard?
I would never, not with a doubt, would I even not consider going there. It was our haven. It's our second home. It'll always be our second home. Even when we still go there, it's like our home.
You still go?
Yes, we do whatever we can. They've done so much for us that they have the hike for hospice, and we always go. We get Matthew's rat pack, and we go and hike, raise money for them, and
So you're part of the volunteer crew,
yeah.
so to speak.
If I can do anything for Emily's house, I will.
What would your advice be to parents who may be facing this predicament?
you know, I don't have advice, but what I hear from the families is that when they're with us for about maybe 2 days to a week, the one thing that I remember each family say is, we should have came a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And when they come back after their child has passed away, we have families that come back at the time that we used to spend time. We used to turn on a movie for them, make them popcorn at night. Mm-hmm. And so we have families that parents, moms and dads, they'll come at 11 o'clock at night, knock on the door and say, can I just come and say hi? Of course. Because they tell us, this is our home. We don't know what to do after having you guys as our family. You guys are our family. And that is number one thing we hear all the time. I don't have advice because this is their child, but I would say that we could give the best care possible. And I know this from the families, and I know this from the children. Though they're dying, I know that they're happy, and I've had children that are verbal, had said, you know, the difference between this place and any other place that I've been to, and I've been to so many hospitals around the world. A child that just recently passed away. The difference is that you guys smile. And here I am trying to smile, and I just cried. And I said, I did my job. I did my job. And after that, he did not speak. But I knew just that one person, just that one verbal child telling me that. I think he spoke for a lot of children and their families. And their dad just didn't even speak. He cried as well. So, I mean, my advice is that come check us out.
Rowney, let me state the obvious. We hate talking about death in this culture, right? And in our society. And talking about the death of children has got to be doubly, if not triply, more difficult to do. Do you have any idea as to how we can make this sort of less of a taboo subject for us to discuss and, I don't know about embrace, but sort of deal with the reality that this is something that some people are going to have to go through, and we've just got to kind of face it more head on?
You are right. We're a very death-defying society. It's all about research. It's all about cure. I think education is a big piece. People need to understand that not every child is cured. And I often think when parents hear those dreaded words, I'm sorry, there's nothing more we can do for your child, it's not true. Hospice or Emily's House to step up, there's so much more, as has been said, we can do for your child. Your child is still living. And as long as there's still life, what can we talked about packing activity into those days. So there's still care, there's still comfort, there's still support. So families we celebrate life when a child is born. And you got the family around, gifts around and parties and everything else. Well, I really believe in hospice, we need to also recognize that death is very sacred. And though we don't celebrate it, because we're going to lose somebody we absolutely love, but we do need to be surrounded by people as well, supported just as much during that time as when a child is born, as when a child leaves this world.
There seems to be, though, a recognition that we can do that if the person who's dying is in their 80s or 90s, right? No one has too much, there's certainly a lot less Sturm und Drang around that. But for children, it's harder. It's so uncomfortable, it's unpleasant, it's not fair, right?
Correct.
It's not fair. Somebody should be leaving this early. How do we face this more head on?
Again, I go back to education and the reality that does happen. To have more parents be vocal and talk about the fact that this has happened, to give opportunity, to give forum like you're giving to us today. Talk about the fact that not every child is cured. And when they're not cured and when there isn't a cure, then how do we as a society, how do we as a community embrace and come alongside of those families? And it's even educating the healthcare system. There's still a lot of people, doctors are all about cure. And the doctor's not quick to say, I'm sorry, there's nothing more we can do, because they want to cure. They're wired to cure and to fix. And when you can't cure and fix, we have to understand that you can't always cure and fix. And there is suffering in this world, there's pain in this world. And I think when those things happen, the best thing we can offer is community, love, compassion, and support. And this is all about community, love, compassion, support, and coming alongside of our neighbors who become our family, as Nikki said, when they come to Emily's house.
We've got a few minutes left here, and I want to be careful how I ask this question because I don't want to cast any aspersions on the other health-related charities that do great works raising money for important problems that we have in our society right now. But here goes. We have many vehicles to raise money for cancer, let's say. We have many vehicles to raise money for mental health. We have many vehicles for which to raise money for the local hospital, that kind of thing. How easy or tough is it to raise money for a cause where, when it's all said and done, the person at the center of the drama isn't going home? There's no cure here.
Correct. It's not that easy. We're half funded by the Ministry of Health, a lot for our clinical programs. The other half, which is all our play therapy, music therapy, legacy work, bereavement care, spiritual care, we have to fundraise for that piece. So it is a little bit of a, if you're at a party and somebody says, what do you do for a living? Well, I run a children's hospice. What is that? Well, that's where children who are dying go and get cared for.
That's a bit of a conversation stopper,
It
right?
stops the conversation pretty quickly. But again, it's how we view death, it's how we view suffering, it's how we view pain, it's how we view community and coming alongside of people that do go through difficult times. And all of us go through difficult times. But I agree, I can't imagine a more difficult time than losing your child. And I think even parents are uncomfortable talking about it because they can identify. They may have kids the same age. And suddenly they know that this child actually died. It might be very painful for them to think that, what if that was me? What if that was my child? So it just goes back to really a lot of awareness and not necessarily, like Bruno said, viewing the hospice as this horrible, dark, dingy kind of place where death happens, but viewing it as a place where life still happens, where life is celebrated every single day, where parents can be parents and children can be children. So it's telling the story not only from children go here to die, but children come here to have quality of life and live their life to the fullest.
In fact, if I can tell tales out of school, because I went and visited the place, you got a basement room that looks like the Maple Leafs dressing room or something. I want that for my house.
Yes.
That looks pretty
The
cool.
sibling room, yeah.
What do you got in there? You got some stuff in there.
Nintendo games and pretend lockers, and Mickey could answer what all these technology things are, but they're for siblings. So
PS2s.
because we don't just care when we have a child, as in when Matthew was with us, there's siblings we look after as well. They can't just sit there in the living room and watch. We have to, a TV or something, we have to create programming for them. So sibling room offers them all kinds of technology things that they can engage with.
Well, I have to say, for a place that, ultimately at the end of the day, tragedy happens. I don't know, on my visit, there was certainly a lot of laughter and a lot of smiles and a lot of, I don't know, it felt like a very happy place.
And we allow tears too.
You
Yes.
allow
Lots of
tears
hugs.
as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
You allow tears as well. Well, you want a last word here, Marlene?
I don't know what to say. I'm just grateful that we had Emily's house for Matthew and us, because we were always there, and the twins loved it. They loved the volunteers were amazing. They were happy to go. So every weekend, and they found a room. They'd have a room for the twins to stay, and Matthew had an adjoining room, so we had our room always. So we stayed.
Even got a sister-in-law out of it.
Yes.
What? Say that again? Oh, you might have buried the lead here. What's that?
The first romance of Emily's house. True.
Really?
My brother and the PSW are now together.
No kidding.
Yes.
No kidding.
It's so beautiful.
Isn't that something?
See what Matthew did? He did
Yes,
a lot
he
of
did.
things for people.
Yes, he did. How about that? Well, that's a great place to leave this discussion. That's a very happy, positive, forward-looking story.
Yeah.
I can't thank all of you enough for coming in today and sharing your thoughts with us. Rowney
you.
Salmonen, the CEO and founder of Emily's House, Nicole, who we call Nikki, Albay, who's a PSW at Emily's House, and Matthew's parents, Bruno and Marlene Jeremiah.
Thank you.
Good of all of you to come into TVO
Thank you.
tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having
Thank you.
us.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.